the work's been carried out, then surely by Christ that's got to satisfy the requirement.
Well, that's again, that was a big beef for Origin, like a great many other HAs. Went straight to DEFCON 1 when it come to the subject matter of fire doors. And as you say, the door sets were quite obviously notional fire door sets.
Yeah.
Correct size, thickness, frame arrangements, ironmongery, had everything there. But they took the view that, oh, we'll replace them all. But then to replace, like you say, literally thousands of door sets with door assemblies that with primary test certification, the budgets were absolutely, the expenditure was crippling.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And it was part, I'll be straight with you, it was part of the downfall of Origin, because it was a perfect storm of issues and events, but the planned maintenance budget just blew. They weren't even blown out of the water, or they're blown off the face of the planet.
Absolutely, yeah, and that's
because nobody took. I always argued. I said, "This is a massive issue we're looking at." I said, "Has anybody assessed the risk in regards to fire doors? Appraised that situation, and so we can be a bit more measured about a program of replacement if that's what we have to do." But it was ignored because it was like, say, "Oh no, it's an emergency, it's critical," and I'm just thinking, no,
they weren't alone.
They
weren't alone. I know of certainly one other. I won't name them, and they just automatically ripped out the lot, and they did it. They took out the lot, which is you know who that is, George.
Yeah.
Which is
simply not because the doors were actually not fit for purpose, but because they didn't have the certification.
That's right. Yeah.
But there's no requirements for the certification. That's just step back. That's step back, and that's been a published bit of guidance of little as 2 or 3 weeks ago. So, and that was always the case, and I think John hit the nail on the head then when he said assessing the risk, and that must be assessed by the risk assessor or someone suitably qualified to survey the risk of that particular door, whether it's nominal or notional or whatever you want. And if it needs some appeasement, some adjustment, or some strips and seals, then carry that out. And if as you say, if it's going to satisfy the risk at hand, it's going to satisfy it. You don't need them door sets.
So you're saying just a couple of weeks ago they changed it, and you don't need the certification now?
No, it's not certification. It's assessing the risk. So it's notional and nominal. And if you want to find out a little bit more about that, speak to Malcolm Tullett or Lee Kennedy. I mean, these boys are absolute advocates of this system, that you can't go and replace every single fire door set out there. It's impossible to do that. And I've always been of that. My mentality or my mind is, how can we help our client? Our client says to us, "Oh, we've got this problem," and I go, "Okay," and accumulatively we don't know it all, but together we do. So we're in an industry that we can close our clients' problems down just by our associated knowledge. And there's, and I've been at lunches and meetings with Malcolm Tullett and Lee Kennedy. I've hours on the phone with these guys, and they're so right. That's the adoption that Stevie Gallagher at Clarion have taken. Nominal or notional fire doors. They've got in-house ex-fire inspectors are saying, no, you don't need to rip these doors out. Guys, listen, there's another 10, 15, 20 years in there where we can program these doors in 15 years' time or 8 years' time, and then manage and constrain your budgets by doing that. It can't be a knee-jerk reaction and saying, "Oh my God, we've got to get all of our stock up." Maybe you can if you've got 5 high-rises, but you're not going to do that if you've got 120 like Clarion have, or 4,500 buildings above 18 metres. You're not going to do that. You can't do that. It's impossible.
Agreed. Okay, so I don't know what's happened, because all of the other sessions we've had up till now, we've had sort of 15, 20 people on them. So can I suggest that we get underway? And
absolutely, George. I don't know how you want to play it.
I think probably because both John saw what I did this morning anyway.
Exactly,
and
that's what I was thinking.
I will just say one thing actually, with Andy. What we're trying to do here is bring together. We're trying to create a bit of a community of people that can do things, both from a point of view of experts like you.
Thank you, George.
Bring you together with, well, you are very much so. Bring you together with people that other people that are experts. So exactly what you've just said there. I mean, Lee Kennedy is one of the one of our contacts as well.
Mm-hmm.
So what we're trying to do is bring together. That's not sharing yet.
Yeah, it's gone blank. It's just not come through.
Yeah, it's weird. Okay, let me just try again. If it's not working, I think we just dive straight into the reviews, Richard.
All right, you're there now, mate.
Yeah. So basically, as I think you know, Andy, we went through last year. Sorry, we went through 4 years ago and created the different asset types. So we've got a lot of the main information that the industry has said is necessary for lots of things. And what we're doing is feeding that information into the people that are bothered, that are learning about the regulations and how to interpret them. So we've created this Golden Thread Aware group where people are sharing knowledge about how to interpret the regulations. And then what we're then doing is bringing those experts together with technology so that they can provide clients with information and services that's joined up. And then we can then use that to encourage more standardization. So we can have standardized libraries. And then we can then have various different software technologies, all of which are helping deliver solutions. So broadly, that's all I wanted to say. Right, Richard, can we go on to?
Yeah, we certainly can. Just can you put up the first document? Oh, just to say,
bring it all the way back. Says that whole time that dog's been sitting, that hole's been sitting there. But they
Andy, have you got somebody talking in the background?
Yeah, let me shut the door, buddy.
Thank you.
Sorry, Scott.
No, that's all right. George is giving you a bollocking speech.
Thank you.
The purpose of this exercise is just to skim through to get the people in the meeting aware of what's in the document, on the basis that some of them will go away and have a look at it in some depth and hopefully come back to us with any suggestions. It's about updating the base. The base material, if you like, has been through hundreds of people, so it's unlikely to need much changing or amending. It's just things like regulations, for example, or any guidance, or if there are new training things going on. So we'll be focusing more on that. But please do have a look and see if there's, because I have to say, the last meeting we had earlier on, there was a lot of stuff that came out from the base material I've just spoken about. Some very interesting stuff came out. So nothing's off the table, but obviously we've only got so long. Right, so let's, without further ado, get on that. We're looking at fire safety signs.
I think Andy actually contributed to this originally.
He probably did, actually. So you'll probably see a lot of your work in here.
Mm-hmm.
photoluminescent. It's got your fingerprints all over that.
Yeah, I'm not the only photoluminescent manufacturer provider in the UK, as you well know. Obviously, Mr. Creek was involved with J-Light back in the day in somewhat a major role. But equally, Jim being my mentor, I might be a carbon copy of him, just a bit taller.
Right, so that's about the components, which I think we're not going to be particularly contentious. Do you want to move down a bit, Jess? Right, dependencies on other systems. Have a quick flick through that. I can't. Anything there, Andy?
No, I like it. Tenant engagement and letting the tenant understand what the requirement is in a building is massive. The fire strategy of the building will determine maybe and this is a conversation I've had recently, especially with one of my major HAs, and they said, we want to make sure we haven't got the budget to do escape route signage in all of our buildings, although fair play to Mr. Todd back in the day when he said, if it's a simply formed building and you know where the stair core is, you don't need signage. And I would agree with that to a fact. But now, based on Grenfell and the evidence within Grenfell, signage is now a requested and requirement from the building safety regulator, and we're looking at 11 metres new building, 18 metres at a retrospective. But he did actually say, if I'm changing my strategy from a stay put to a simultaneous evacuation building for whatever reason, I want quantifiable quality signage systems on the wall to assist evacuation if it's ever required. So that was a real eye opener and a common sense approach from one of the major HAs. Formal risk assessment. I'm a little bit worried about formal risk assessments because I just think we have so many different varying opinions from risk assessors. You've got some fantastic risk assessors out there, but we've also got some dog shit risk assessors as well. I think we'll all agree that. And that's not taking anything away.
That formal risk assessment, does that relate to particular needs of residents? Isn't there, for particular residents' own personal circumstances, mobility issues and the likes?
Oh, no, I think that will come more under PEEPs, under a PEEP.
That's all in under that, is it?
Personal emergency evacuation. A formal risk assessment would be assessing a risk of a building against any provision of fire or any requirements or anything that's to do with fire. Really, they don't really concentrate on too much on a tenant element unless they're blocking up the common corridors and a means of escape. But there again, we can say that we're going to get into risk assessments when we need to get in and certify that these buildings of height are actually constructed correctly. I think that's the only piece of encroachment you'd ever have in behind a flat front entrance door is identifying that the building has been constructed correctly. As I say, risk assessment, it's a minefield. It's absolutely so variable. Smoking policy, pretty much no smoking policy. I would add that there's no smoking and no electronic cigarettes. I would hash that out and say no electronic cigarettes as well, because the electronic cigarettes obviously is quite new. And vaping, or for the want of a better word or a lesser word, but the evidence or the statement coming out from Public Health England at this moment in time is believing that the smoke from electronic cigarettes is possibly at this moment in time more harmful than smoking cigarettes, because it leaves the damage on the lungs becomes sugary because of all the
I'm sorry. As a vapor and somebody who studies this stuff, I'm going to query that.
That's fine.
It's not vaping. It's not vaping.
Mm-hmm.
It's the flavouring.
The flavouring, absolutely.
No, some of the flavourings.
Yeah,
So
that's
it's not.
absolutely.
It's,
Richard,
There's also,
Richard,
I mean, to my
would
mind,
be,
that
I would
the,
I would stand to be corrected. I just read the guidance from Public Health England
yeah,
on,
they're changing their mind
and
left, right, and centre.
the guidance was generic. To be fair to them,
Yeah, it's not.
that's absolutely fine. And but I didn't mind that saying that statement because I'm seeing you vape as well. Because
I know, no, it's fine. But I just thought since it
my
is something I know about, I would
yeah,
actually say
absolutely.
something for a change.
And my guys vape, but lots of my guys vape. The smoking policy come out.
I agree with you. Look, so just change that to no smoking policy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
a no smoking policy. Yeah,
no smoking or vaping policy.
Or vaping. Absolutely, well done.
Yeah,
Vaping policy. That's it. Well done. So that's the no smoking element come out the Health and Safety at Work Act 1974, I believe, because it's deemed a workplace. It's a common parts area which is deemed a workplace. What we can't control whatever goes on behind them flat front doors. So there's obviously a no smoking sign does not go behind the flat front edge of the flat door. In the flats, we can't tell people what to do in the privacy of their own home. Potential access strategy. If anyone wants to touch on that one for me, explain a little bit about that.
I don't know who.
Presumably, if you're talking about access, would that be for the fire service?
I was going to say that I think that must be the fire service.
Yeah.
Okay, so I would identify that and look at ERPs as well, emergency response plans, which are they really are coming to the fore of the marketplace now. This is NFCC guidance on top of the Fire Safety England regulations. So
potential fire service access strategy, Jess.
Yeah, I would say I would leave it at that, Richard. I'd say potential access strategy stroke ERP, which is an emergency response plan.
/ERP.
ERP, that's it. Yeah, emergency response plan.
Yeah, write it all, Jess. Emergency response plan. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I would say IT systems were, that's our future, isn't it? IT systems. Yeah. It was really interesting as well, going back, Richard, what they were saying over the last 2 weeks, that the government have now announced that they MHCLG, whatever it is, have now announced that they believe that digitized system. And it's a conversation I had with Jim at lunch last week, that digitized system will not, they want it, they want to put all the information together as best they can, but it won't be the ultimate golden thread, because it can't be really, because you'd have to update it on a daily basis, wouldn't you? Really. But I think they're right in developing systems like you guys are doing. They're right in developing systems that you can pull all the information down when you need them, but how quickly out of date would that information become? And it would be down to the end user and the likes of yourselves to update that information based on any fundamental change within the building. We do it all the time. We provide drawings to our clients and they put them in a Regulation 38 documentation. They put them in their O&M manuals, whatever, and they've got them systems digitally stored. But the trouble is with a lot of it, especially these block management organisations, they want to block manage these buildings, but they don't want to do the work that are going to assist their block management elements. Yeah, so they don't necessarily want to put all this information together, and this is where you guys come in. Put all this information together to say, this is fundamental. This is fundamentally what you need in this building. And I'm going to talk high rise because high rise is so crucial. So because people are lazy and we don't necessarily want to do that until we're absolutely forced to do it. We didn't want to put a seatbelt on in our car until the laws changed, and for years and years people still didn't put seatbelts on in their car. You see what I'm saying? Because it's outside of them being lazy or outside of their, what they consider. We've always done it that way. But IT systems absolutely crucial to the management structures of these potential building or these buildings moving forward, especially in brand new builds, because brand new builds, you've got no reason not to put all of that information through its REBA design stage right the way up to construction and handover. You should have every single element of that put into an IT system or a managed system from start to finish. Health and safety management system, fantastic. That needs to be there. Needed to be there. Obviously, even you could even query it through its construction phase. Was there something come out during the construction phase that would benefit the fundamental running of that building moving forward? It could have been anything. It could be a number of things. Fire alarm systems speak for themselves. Is it got a fire alarm system in the building? Even if it hasn't got a fire alarm system, it should be notified that it hasn't got a fire alarm system. Just don't leave it blank. That's in my personal opinion.
Right. George, I want your input on this. Given that we've only got 2 people in the meeting and we've got 3 documents to go through, and we have an expert in one of them, and we're getting a lot of in-depth input on that, should we just concentrate on this document?
Well, we can skip through it a bit quicker if you like, Richard. It's just my opinions, and I'm also going to say what do my opinions stand, cater for. I like to think we're at the forefront of this, but
we've got an opinion of an expert, whereas on the others we won't have.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
That's what do you think, George?
I'd like to just ask John. So we've got this signage one that is what we're doing at the moment, John. The other 2 that we've got listed are emergency lighting and fire alarms, and we don't have any experts in those. Although maybe you are, John. I don't know.
No. I wouldn't say so. Pancho would probably be a better person to comment on fire alarm provision and such like. Yeah. But on the subject of signage, we always used to have a bit of a gap that when at handover, we realised that there was enough, generally speaking, enough signage provision to fulfil the obligations of the building regs. But what we did find was that from a housing management point of view, there were gaps in the signage. So what we do, or I think we still do, is we do a fire signage audit just prior to handover and then instruct that supplier contractor to install the additional signage and deduct that generally from the account. And it's just a belt and braces approach because we realise there's a bit of a gap there. I don't know if it's a gap in knowledge or a gap in the process.
I think it's possibly a gap in cost and also definitely a gap. There's definitely a gap in knowledge, no doubts. Why would you need a sign there? Because you've come up to a hazard. You've got a stair core. Yeah, but all right. You get to the bottom of the stair core on a half landing. Why? It's obvious which way you're going. Well, is it obvious which way you're going? That gap, and I think just to backtrack on that a little bit, we've just engaged with 4 or 5 of our major clients, but at the development team. So we're putting stuff in the employer's requirements now, and they're engaging with us because up until then, nobody got the signage strategies right in the building. and then we're going in, ripping them out after a risk assessment for habitation within the building that states, oh, this signage is crap, for the want of a better word. We're ripping it out and putting a good quality signage strategy in. All right, our signs come with frames, and that's a buy to buy, but it's also photoluminescent, good quality, Class C plus standard photoluminescent, because that's what the code in a high-rise building or above 11 metres tells you it should be. But they're just putting cheap and cheerful pieces of white plastic on the wall in the wrong positions, that we're going to rip it off the wall, damage the walls that have got to be decorated again, or localized repairs, and we're doing it again. And then so why do it in the first place if you're not any good at it? And then that gets me into the realms of, you've constructed this building.
Okay. I'm sorry, I'm going to say, can we get back to the document?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so Andy, we've been through dependencies. Just pick out anything that stands out, and pick out anything you disagree with, or that needs more than we put on there.
What's exactly under question 1A? What risks do fire safety signage mitigate? And you've got loss of compartmentation. Am I just being thick and not understanding?
Oh, right. Yeah, I've just seen that. Loss of compartmentation.
That looks wrong.
Is it, or is it there wasn't any signage in a particular compartment? Because we call areas of the buildings compartments, and we put, if it's a compartment, we would put, for argument's sake, a no smoking sign in a compartment. So it depends. There's a loss of
compartmentation is something.
Well,
it's a bit misleading, to be fair.
I think let's just remove it, Richard.
I agree with you. Just take that out. Take that one out. Okay, scroll down. That's what risks are they actually susceptible to themselves?
It would be smoke logging, guys, not smoke clogging.
Yeah.
Logging.
Mm.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, the smoke logs on the ceiling. Incorrect application. Yeah, I'm all over that. Incorrect design. Vandalism's being a massive one. Poor maintenance. I would say from a poor maintenance perspective is poor maintenance, I believe, would only come around if you got a building safety person walking around the building identifying what was there and what has now been ripped off the wall.
Yeah, if it was a lit sign and it wasn't maintained, so it didn't light up, that would be poor maintenance, wouldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. But then, Richard, I'm going to interject there, and I'm going to say a lit sign would fall into the realms of emergency lighting. So you've got 5266 Part 1, which is emergency lighting, and then you've got back illuminated signs, which fall very much into that category.
Wait a second, George. Are we talking emergency lighting in this? Isn't emergency lighting part of fire safety signs for our definition?
I think we've got a separate thing for emergency lighting.
We have. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, so I'm looking at poor maintenance elements from a static sign or a passive sign, if you like.
Got it.
That's
okay,
fine.
So poor maintenance. You're thinking no. Scrub it.
Take it out.
I'm thinking keep it. I think it's massive.
Right. Okay.
Keep it. Bad installation. See it all the time. Power failure. I would say under power failure. So this is looking like you're crossing over to an emergency lighting element as well.
Well, but it says, I think it's lack of lighting in the building, isn't it?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So if you wanted to continue that, it would be power failure, and then good quality photoluminescent product.
Now that's a solution to the problem. What we're saying is what will stop fire safety signage that exists.
Right. Okay. Power failure. Yeah. Well, yeah. Depending on what fire safety signage is installed within, because under the health and safety signs and signals regulations, and it says that signage must retain its illumination content under a power failure. So if you haven't got an emergency light above it, you can put that cheap and cheerful sign on the wall, but if you haven't got an emergency light underneath it, you're never going to see it.
I understand, but that does exist, doesn't it?
It does exist, very much so. Yeah.
So that's what.
Yes. So it is a risk, isn't it? Okay, just scroll down.
Hang on. Can you just go back to H? Yeah, misunderstanding of icon definition.
Yeah.
Now, so we're talking about icon, or we're talking about a graphical symbol with a running man or an arrow, directional arrow. But if you've got good quality signage that conforms to the standard, then there should be no misunderstanding, but we haven't, so that's a risk. Yeah, go on, carry on. Not updating manual, that's fine. Lack of lighting, very much so. Relevant persons don't see them. Visual wallpaper. Yeah, that's fine. Carry on, guys.
Okay, what information is needed to ensure they perform as required? Right, scroll down a little bit, George, just so we can see.
Yeah, so you need to identify a fire strategy to be able to sign it out accordingly, especially with wayfinding signage, approved document B, and the signage that's mentioned in the Fire Safety England regs, and risk assessment. Yeah, well, risk assessors get it wrong mostly, but we'll leave that in. The location, obviously, very important. Manufacturer. Yeah, I'd like to be identified that if you've got signage on a wall, you'd need to know what manufacturer installed that. Although if the manufacturer's name wasn't actually on the sign, it could be obtained through the Regulation 38 document. Model number, myself and George have spoken about that. That's fine. Installer size and dimensions. The size and dimensions will lead you into visual viewing distances, knowing that the letter heights are correct and the wording is correct. Purpose of wording, changes in the building require a new design. Purpose and wording, I would agree that. Graphical symbol is fundamental to the understanding of a fire safety sign. A unique identifier, which would be a code reference. Yeah, we would do that. Durability, characteristics and performance, absolutely. Knowing what material you got, how to manage and maintain it. When it was last tested, well, or when it was, if we're talking about fire safety signage, it would be, yeah, when it was last viewed to be functional. Will it operate as?
Should we change that rather than tested?
Yeah, when it was last viewed to be functional, I would say.
So take out tested, Jis, and put viewed to be functional.
Yeah. Now, will it operate as required?
Right, so we're going to need to take out the battery charge indicators for emergency signage, because we're not dealing with emergency signage. So it's battery charge indicators for external luminaires. To light, yeah, that's correct, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because that's what it's talking about, to light externally illuminated signs. Yes, that's clumsy, but that's what it is, isn't it?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. And that's got an element of Jim Creek all over that statement.
Yeah, yes. I'm sure it has.
Which is amazing. Full duration testing has been undertaken each year. That is Jim as well. I would say that the testing or the understanding of your signage strategy within the building would be understood each month with your building safety manager, who would identify if there's any failings within the system, because they should have enough knowledge to understand that there's a sign missing or not missing, if it was damaged or removed or whatever. Battery replacement intervals, that obviously sits within emergency lights, but that, as I say, it's very, very important that if you have got a white plastic fire safety sign, it needs to have an emergency light above it. So that would be very much part of your system or of your standard. Logging of any maintenance performed, absolutely crucial, especially for your insurers. If anything happened, this would be the first document they would ask for. Contrasting colours, making sure that requires your greens against your whites, or your greens against your photoluminescence. Specific font, very important, especially now that Colin, when he released the ADB wayfinding signage, he put specific font and prefix heights, which is very important. Signage specific to the building, signage strategy specific to the building. I'd agree with all of that. Height from the ground, very interesting, very, very interesting. Colin wrote in ADB that it should be 1.7 to 2 meters, and I disagree with that. I disagree with that wholly. And it's the conversations I've had with Jim that your start point from your signage should start at 1.7 to the bottom of the sign up to 2 meters. Well, some of the information that you're going to get in ADB wayfinding signage is time you put up a sign that says floor number, flats left and flats right, or we could have 3 of those. And if that's 3 lines of text underneath that, so you could have 4 or 5 lines of text for information. If that started at 1.7 to the underside of the sign, then you're going to be finishing at the 2 meter or 2.1 meter mark. Absolutely about as useful as a chocolate fire guard.
Yeah. So all we're saying here isn't what the solution is. What we're saying is that we need to know the height.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Oh, all right. Sorry, buddy. Yeah. Okay. That's no problem. Just to finish on that, it's important for you guys to know that we adopt a system and a standard that is a peripheral view height of a firefighter. So we take his eye line at 1.7, and then we'll put signs above it and signs below it. And so we've identified a risk against the smoke logging.
Good.
Okay. We should hold all component details for all signs. Totally. Absolutely.
Right. Let's focus on things you disagree with, mate, because we're never going to get through. Right, what tasks are required, or anything you want to add in? Obviously, anything what tasks are required to ensure fire safety signage is installed, commissioned, inspected, and maintained properly? So, what do we have to do? What do the people on the ground actually have to do?
Training to understand what you're trying to.
Right, we're going to come on to that. We're going to come on to training and competency in the next one.
Okay. Yeah. No problem.
Yeah. No worries. But so let's just look at the what tasks. Right, so we got hold on, here we go. This is from Beezer's, and this is from SFG 20.
Right.
Now bear in mind, we're not just talking about what does the legislation say, and what we're doing is what is the best thing to do.
Best practice.
And that might be more than the legislation, so bear that in mind.
No, most definitely.
So go back to that, Jess. Is there anything there that would we add on to SFG 20?
Check out inspection of all non-illuminated fire exit signage to check that it is correct and in place. Yeah. Check that all safety signs are noticeable or legible. Absolutely. Escape route signs should be cleaned and visually inspected at regular intervals. Yeah, yearly is good. and action should be taken to remedy the defects. Absolutely. Every maintained fire exit light should be visually inspected for correct operation and ensure the lamp is lit. Yeah, I would agree that. Ensure that any fault found is logged and the appropriate action taken. Equally, very, very simple with your emergency lighting signage and your passive signage. So yeah, no, I'd agree both of that.
Right, let's whiz through just to excuse me, question 4. This is the one about competency and training. We've got this section obviously in all the guidance, and you know what, 90% of it is the same. Where there's differences are within specific asset types where there is something specifically done for them. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to have a look at this? Look at particularly number F, letter F, because that could be somewhere where you know of something better or something that's happened in the last 2 years, right, that you want to add to that.
F is great. Let me read from B. Those involved in the design installation should be able to demonstrate training qualifications. Really interesting training and qualifications. As far as that's concerned. So if we're outside the emergency lighting element, which we're on 5499. I'm going to say what qualifications is there? Can anyone answer me what qualifications there is there for formal training on signage?
No, of course we can't. That's why you're here.
Right. That's absolutely fine because there isn't any. It actually comes down through the electrical codes and standards, BS 7671. Believe it or not, and there's very, very, very limited amount in 7671 for the identifiable elements of standard, and that's why the likes of Jim Creek is so important to this industry because you know, you've got the health and safety signs and signals regulations, and I would say if you're going to throw yourself into this industry, read that document back to front, and you know, BSC and ISO 7010 and stuff like that. But there's really I don't believe there's a college anywhere in the UK that you could go and get yourself trained up on signage installations. So that's an interesting point. Competency individual installers demonstrated through certification. There you go. And with a suitable third-party accredited provider. Yeah. So where do I go to get my third-party accreditation to install a sign on the wall? Yeah,
absolutely. We're saying we're saying what should be there, aren't we?
Massive market for training, Richard.
Yeah.
This should include the provision of manufacturer's fitting instructions. Well, we don't, you know, unless you go to the health and safety signs and signals regulations. So it's not a manufacturer's put that out there. Yeah. The British Standards Institute, and that's why your Jim Creeks and your Fernando Rays are all very, very important in this. Specification of which third-party accreditations are acceptable. Oh, give me one. And they'll ask me a question I'll ask them a question that they couldn't answer.
Is there a third party accreditation for signage?
No.
Take it out then.
Take it out.
Well, no, we're saying it should be.
Leave it. Yeah. Should it be? We're
saying there should be.
Specification of which third party accreditations are acceptable should be required. Yeah. All right. We're asking.
We're saying there should be a third party accreditation.
And yeah, absolutely. The world would be a better place. But anyway.
Okay.
Ongoing demonstrable CPD of installer, not simply the company I work on. Yeah, CPD. Listen, we train. That's why we house all of our clients at our factory, because we've got demonstration walls and give them a basic training. It's not CPD registered, but it'd be the most comprehensive training they'd ever undertake in fire safety signage. So, and also they get a sausage sandwich at the same time. F, supervisors should have achieved L3 MVQ diploma in wood occupations construction, site carpentry, CSCS Gold Card or IFE Level 3 certificate in passive fire protection, or be named as a competent supervisor in the company of UCAS accreditation. So what's that? A supervisor to assess signage going on the walls?
I think that's generic and probably needs
Okay.
removing.
It is. Yeah, take F out, Jis.
Sorry, gentlemen, I'm gonna just suspend my call for a moment. I've got some issue with my grandchildren downstairs.
No, of course.
Okay.
No
buddy,
worries,
I'll be
no
back.
worries.
Thank you.
All right, buddy. All right, no problem.
Thank you, John.
Excellent. Okay.
Right, installers should have manufacturer-led product specified installation training. Yeah, I would say that. In addition to any formal UCAS accreditation, as I said, I don't believe there's any UK accreditation for installing safety signs, but we can leave that in because we can say there should.
We're saying there should be. We're saying this is what we want, aren't we?
This is what there should be. Yeah, absolutely. Manufacturers should offer installation training either in their own right or subcontracted out to a specialist to provide that service. Absolutely. Code of practice should include training materials. Yeah, without a doubt.
Okay, scroll down, Jess.
Maintenance. Manufacturing specific installation, commissioning, inspection, maintenance, repair, replacements, and recycling requirements should be retained to inform future maintainers of the manufacturer's recommendations. Yeah, although it's very light on anything coming back through manufacturers, but yeah, I agree that
That's common though, isn't it? That's common.
Very, very common. But at least, and this is some stuff that myself and George touched on, having all that information, whether it's on drawings, golden thread documentation, whatever you want to call, to put it into the Regulation 38 documentation, very important. Mandatory awareness training should be in place. Yeah, mandatory awareness. No smoking signs are mandatory. Mandatory signs, obviously blue, but no smoking signs in the workplace or common parts of buildings are mandatory. On site and carrying out maintenance in buildings, absolutely. Training for the operational team should be required on standards, plus to give a basic understanding of how to read drawings. Yeah, I agree, all of that. BSI Flex focuses on competence of individuals, very interesting. Now, how you can stand in a pub and someone tells you how good they are until you actually see it. So the competence, explain competence, because what somebody's competence is not another person's competence. Planning, monitoring, reviewing. This also enables the capture of skills, knowledge, experience, and behaviours necessary to the undertaking of a defined role, function, activity, or task. I wouldn't criticise that statement in one piece. That's fine.
Okay, mate, keep going, Jess. Right, this next bit is just on change management.
Robust change management requires an information baseline against which the different states' current, proposed, final, and ongoing change can be measured and reported. Baseline information should contain the required performance in a machine-readable, actionable form, and the change management process should enable that to be compared with. The actual performance of the design solution, yeah. Performance of the chosen products against generic, and the performance of an alternative value engineered product. I hate the word value engineering because it just means cheap. The record of what was actually used and installed, absolutely concur with that. Schedule of safety critical elements for the building tools includes product specified. Yeah, goes back to your as built, as installed, O&M, whatever you want to call it. Baseline against which to compare proposed alternative products. Some designers have expressed reluctance to propose. Absolutely. A specified manufactured product that will satisfy their designs due to liability, procurement rules and fees. Well, you've hit it in a nutshell. Yeah, we can't use you because you're not procured. Or we can procure you through one of our tier ones, but we'll give you £1 million worth of work, but we got to pay another 200 grand for the pleasure of it. What a load of crap that is. Honestly, procurement is the scourge of the industry, unfortunately. This schedule would be locked at a specific design stage, after which changes to product specified should not occur except for exceptional reasons. Yeah, locked at a specific design stage. Interesting, yeah. So locked is good, The only way it get unlocked is if the product wasn't available after you locked it in.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's fine. If that's the system that you want, you understand the system, that's what you want, you should lock it in. I agree that. And then that becomes part of your design application, your specification, and all the fundamental detail that you want within your building. A formal change management system is required to ensure that unavoidable changes are validated by a responsible person. Original designer and/or fire engineer, yeah, I concur all of that. There's a well-established change management process in construction called technical submissions, absolutely, in which requested changes from the specification that were created by the designers and selected manufacturers need to be reviewed and approved. Design and build procurement has affected that process. Yeah, and it should be re-established in a way that the performance of a proposed product and its constituent components is easily compared with the proposed alternative. But the proposed alternative is the ultimate race to the bottom, isn't it? And that was proved at Grenfell. If it was as a technical deviation, could we say a technical deviation is a technical deviation would be a cheaper product, perhaps.
Not necessarily. It may be availability. It could be that somebody's come up with a better one.
All right, brilliant, fantastic. Then that deserves to be left in to ensure compliance with the current fire strategy for the building. Absolutely, 100%. Validation of changes would include verifying that the new product met all the requirements for the application with no detriment to the overall design, the details of which should be recorded. Changes in a product may be made between design and procurement and installation, handover and ongoing maintenance. Yeah, validation of changes. Yeah, needs to be quantified. Absolutely. Yeah, flicker up, Jizz.
Scroll down, Jizz.
Validation. More onus needs to be put on the client due to the collaboration of information requirements and the updating design models into as installed content. Now, I'd agree that statement, but I would also say that the client hasn't necessarily got the competence or the knowledge base that us guys have got. So I think personally we've got a duty of care to put the products together, whether it's through your own specification or wherever it's held, to give the client the best detail and the best value. But because I don't think the client taking onus, they're going to shy away from it because they do not want the responsibility, unfortunately.
But they are responsible. Under the law, they are responsible.
They are the ultimate responsibility, and this is where we're lying, yeah. But the client will use the principal contractor as their element of responsibility. But are we saying the principal contractor would want the clients to hold the responsibility because we built that building as you agreed it to be built?
Yeah, the law is, as I understand it, Andy, the law is that the responsibility always rests with the client.
Okay.
They are then their duty is to appoint somebody that is adequately competent.
Building control.
Sorry?
Building control.
No, nothing to do with building control.
No.
No. They're
what in the design stage we're talking then?
Yeah, their responsibility is to appoint somebody that can deliver what they have to do.
Right.
And if that person fails to do it, then they are obviously that organization's responsible, but so is the client because
so is the client. Okay, so it's a shared responsibility.
Correct. Yeah. So okay. maybe what to do is just after client, add in
client's representative.
No, client with support from
client, comma.
Yeah. Client
Just
Yeah,
it's
that's it.
H, client,
Yeah.
comma,
Yeah.
yeah, with support.
From design team.
Comma.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it, mate. During the
Okay,
collation of information
okay.
requirements. Fantastic. Yeah, great. Yeah. As I say, with the client on its own wouldn't you know, I don't think you get anywhere. So it must be with the support from the design team. And then obviously all of their insurances would satisfy the requirements being designed. Full disclosure of the product is needed at handover, so that after work stage 7, if a manufacturer goes out of business or products change, the record is there in perpetuity. Totally concur that. Asset database, very important, must be kept up to date with core data for new installs. Installation documents should be held in a centralized digital location. Once BIM COBIE level data is manageable with the asset management system, then this will be used as a main source of data. Yeah, I wouldn't concur with it. I know we had a conversation, George, didn't we, to say how far down the rabbit hole are we going with BIM? And I know are some clients operating a BIM system within their new build designs.
Oh yeah, yeah. Operating, no, not operating. Right. But that's not what that's saying.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go back up, just so I want Andy to be on board with this.
Yeah. Once level data. Oh, okay. Level data is manageable. So right. Okay. So you're gaining all the information that can be put into BIM if required at a later date.
Yeah, or the BIM stroke COBIE level data. COBIE is you don't need a 3D model for that. That can just be schedules. COBIE is the international standard for handover information.
Okay, brilliant.
And you can create it from spreadsheets.
Mm-hmm. BIM, CAF, asset and housing management systems must inform the change management process. Yeah. Health and safety files.
Sorry, I can't hear you.
I just came out to take a charger.
Your charger?
Yeah, not this one.
Who's got their mic open?
It's Simon. Yeah. Simon, could you just mute your mic for a second?
Cheers.
Health and safety files for each building, cradle to grave, must recorded and updated with notification of changes and implications. Yeah, totally concur that. Warranty information of existing and proposed products should be provided to allow proper consideration to be made on a selection of alternative or replacement. If a product has a shorter life than another, this information, almost O&M style. Given some of the products will be in locations that are difficult to locate. Absolutely.
Can I just stop you for a second, Andy? I've noticed that Simon and Howard have joined. I don't know how long you've been on, apologies. But what we're doing at the moment, we're going through the guidance that was created probably 4 years ago and then was revised 2 years ago. And we're just going through, and Andy is an expert in signage. And what we're doing at the moment is going through this particular document to make sure that there's nothing in it that's changed. So the section that we're on at the moment is change control. Okay, carry on, Andy.
Compliance systems should be informed with the information from the aim. Yeah, asset tagging, barcode systems and processes should be considered. I totally concur that. It should be considered. I mean, asset management is asset tagging on components is massive, isn't it? And identifying it. A change management process. Procurement should be included in the process, recording what was purchased and feeding into the BIM process to locate where they were installed or which products they are replacing. Yeah. Change of products. You've got the ability to change your products if needed.
Can I stop you? I think, because I wrote a lot of this, so it's good to revisit it. I think we should take BIM out of that. So just Jess, if you wouldn't mind, just remove BIM from there, because it's not. No, not there. Sorry,
What
section
letter,
is
George?
on the P.
On pages.
Yeah.
I would say that into the managed process to
Yes.
locate managed
Yeah.
process
Yeah.
to locate where they were installed
Yeah.
or which products they are replacing. So that process is managed.
Yeah.
Specification or design brief for the business performance and or product should be recorded in a machine readable format to enable validation against the golden thread. Absolutely. I love the golden thread. I think everything should be recorded, although they've sort of watered it down, as I said, over the last couple of weeks. But I just think that that's going to let a lot of people off the hook. But that's my opinion. Record the compatibility and compliance of any ancillaries and confirm they comply with the test data. ironmongery door access, basic stuff.
Andy, what was that point that you said that's changed over the last couple of weeks? What's that?
The golden thread. The basic the statement coming out of MHCLG has basically stated that they don't believe that the digital documentation will be achieved to the levels that they spoke about historically. So I'll have to dig it out and find it for you. But by making that statement, I just think that people won't bother. Oh, you told us that we couldn't achieve it, so we're not going to achieve it. Do you know what I mean? That really did dilute down the element of golden thread. And it is a tall order. Golden thread is a massive order to try and collate all of the information. We specialise in high rise. We specialise in all buildings, but high rise particularly, and high rise are at the forefront. So if I owned 1, 10 or 15 or 20 high rise buildings, being a control freak I'd want to know everything about everything. But unfortunately, not everybody does, because it's a lot of work and people shy away from work, and it's also a lot of cost.
So what you're saying is that they've basically identified that people aren't complying with what's supposed to be complied with.
I'm not saying that they're not complying with it. I mean, this was Dame Judith's ultimate golden thread, for the want of the glory of a building is capturing all the information within a building so we can manage it and maintain it. But they've somewhat downgraded it or pissed on her coals, for the want of a better word. Sorry for swearing. Whereas they're stating that the information management of this is not let me choose my words carefully, maybe won't be achieved as they expected in the first instance post Grenfell. And
I'd like to see what they actually say, because I don't think that they have removed the responsibility.
No, they haven't. The responsibility is still there. They just downgraded the information gathering element of it. The responsibility is not.
When you say downgraded it, are you saying that they are? Because they've never been explicit in terms of what they. Sorry, but this is really, really important.
No, it's massively important. Massively important.
If you could let me know, I'd be most grateful.
I will do. Yeah, no, I will do.
It would be good to see that, because even now, I've had some I'm relatively speaking new to PFP, but I have had not stand-up arguments, but a massive difference of opinion with directors on this subject. And I'm saying, okay, it's not explicit, but we should be, any business, any association, we should all be doing best endeavours to operate at a level of best practice.
Absolutely.
And they say, well, we don't do high rise, it's not relevant to us. I said we should be applying the principles on anything over 11 metres, because eventually the legislation will change and you will be referring to anything over 11 metres, or in fact any flatted development of any height. And it's like, no, it's not relevant. And
Sorry,
as we've
John,
said before, it's ignorance as well.
it-
You've got to battle that.
yeah, if it helps at all, right? I was at a workshop last week. I was on a panel with Dame Judith Hackett, right? And it was a full day session. And there was about 200 people in the room, and the regulator was there. You know, Cross were there. You know, Cross, the risk reporting organization, and it was absolutely clear that the Building Safety Act applies to all buildings, not just HRBs, all buildings. There's only two differences. With HRBs, it's being monitored. That there's a couple of extra requirements, but all the fire safety stuff hasn't changed. All the fire safety stuff is equally relevant to all buildings.
I wouldn't disagree with you there.
Yeah.
But the industry is so vast. If you look at Clarion, for argument's sake, who's one of my clients, I mean, you've got nearly 100 buildings of height above 18 metres, and anything between 18 metres and 11 metres and 18 metres retrospective build. They've got 4,500 buildings.
Yeah.
Now they've got one of the biggest fire safety teams that I know, and they've got 53-man fire safety team, whereas Hyde, for intents and purposes, have got a 10 or 12 or 15-man fire safety team. Now, and they've got equal stock, or nearly equal stock. So how do you get that amount of information across in our lifetime to create the ultimate golden thread information, even with Clarion's 53-man fire safety team?
Well, the way you do it, right, is to use a lot more standardization. You need to use a lot more standardized process and standardized data sets. That's the way you do it, right? And I absolutely agree that it's not easy, right?
No, that's right. Yeah, absolutely.
But that doesn't mean, you know, for example, when the financial services industry became regulated sort of 15, 20 years ago, they had a big mountain to climb, and they appear to have done it.
Yeah.
And we've got to do the same. So
Agreed.
I absolutely agree that it's not easy, but I don't believe that. Well, if they have downgraded the requirement,
I'm not saying it's downgraded. I'm saying that it's not.
They
recognise that it's not as achievable as they first thought. So
yeah. I think that's I think that's fair, because nobody actually realised how poor the industry actually is.
Yeah,
that's right. Absolutely.
Agreed. Absolutely.
Yeah, we were starting from the bottom, weren't we?
Very much so, because that's what I referred to earlier. When we had to put together a briefing document for contractors and developers on the subject of fire safety, and particularly Regulation 38, the requirements had been in the approved document B for 16, 17 years.
Mm-hmm.
And for us have to do that briefing document to explain it to them, I said to the director, my executive team, I find it frightening that we're asking these people to construct these assets for us, and they're woefully ignorant of the base requirements. And I said, we're having to educate them. And I said, what? We need to rethink how we do business. Well, it's design and build. It's their problem. It's their risk. I said, it's not, for God's sake. It's us. It's ours. We're employing them.
Going back to what Jules just said, you're the client. So the responsibility is going to lay there.
Yeah. So, I mean, as you know, John, we've audited 2 or 3 of your projects, and as far as the handover information was concerned, you know, it didn't meet the legal requirement, let's say.
Right.
Yeah. Which is, I think it's testament to you that you're actually
Well, I dug
checking.
I dug in with a group direct. I dug in against a group director, and I just said, he said, "Are the units over ready for handover?" I said, "If you accept handover, you'll do it without my approval because obviously this information X, Y, and Z is missing,
Yeah.
and I can substantiate that." And I said, "We are not in receipt of the information. So as far as approved document B concerned, no, it's not a compliance scheme. So therefore we have grounds to refuse it." And thank God, like they did. And in each case, that was proven to be. But as a client, we're under massive pressure to accept units, by a deadline date, a PC date issued by a contractor to the developer, who then hands them over to us. And they're saying, "Okay, you've got to take them regardless." And my view is no. It's simple as that. I'm not debating it with you. I'm not trying to trying to rustle up a compromise. They're either fit to be habited or they're not. And
Yeah. So
Absolutely.
where I just on that particular point, where I'm trying to get to with this, John, and actually the work that we've been doing around your projects as well, what we're trying to do is automate that process.
Yeah.
So that checking is, well, first of all, the checking should be dead easy for you to be able to identify what's missing. That's the first thing. And secondly, it should never get to that. It should be that the contractors are actually checking before it's handed over, so that you don't get put in that compromised situation. But obviously, what we need to do is make sure that we've got the right level of support from your senior people to do that. And I think the more we can standardize that, then it's that we need to be pushing the contractors to actually deliver the quality.
exactly that, because with this system, what I'm hoping we get out of this system, out of the process, is that I'm always astounded at how many project managers don't do detail.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? In the grand scheme of things, doesn't matter, regardless of the scheme, they don't do detail. They say, "Okay, yeah, they're done. They've been built and they're finished. The carpets have gone in and they've been decorated. Great." But they don't do detail in regards to receipts of information. And I'm hoping from this that we come up with a system that, for individuals like that it has almost like a dashboard arrangement, that they can look at the scheme. They can say, "Okay, this is scheme R1, and there's a dashboard there, and scheme file O&M manuals 80% complete, 85% complete."
Yeah.
And we can just go back to them with that dashboard, that summary report, and say, "Okay, where are we on this other 15% of the information, whether it be fire safety or whatever, asset information, full stop." Because they don't do a lot of them don't do detail, and a lot of I'm going to say younger, but some PMs don't do detail. Others are fastidious about it, and that's part of the problem of client side. That's down to us.
No consistency.
No, not at all.
Yeah, absolutely. Just quickly, guys, I've just searched it on ChatGPT, and the conclusion was it downgraded. In a normative sense, the principle behind the golden thread remains legally embedded, and the government still insists on accuracy, security, electronic format, transferability, and up-to-dateness. But yes, the original ambitions have been tempered. The shift away from a single mandatory system, the narrowing of what must be included, the inclusions of limit reductions, and the flexibility around timing, all meaning that in practice the regime is less rigid or strict than early interpretations suggested.
Excellent. Okay. Can you send that over to me?
Yeah, of course I can. Yeah, I'll forward it to you. Yeah, I'll forward it as a screenshot.
Okay, we have 7.2 minutes left.
Wow.
So we are going to finish this document.
We are. Go for it.
We are. It's here on the screen.
The asset
You go
information.
for it, Andy.
Yeah, the asset information needs to enable comparison, but the original performance spec of the fire safety signs and the related information such as fire strategy and cause and effect should form part of the absolutely deviation process. The FMs must be able to update the asset information model with machine readable data of the newly installed products. I would not disagree with that. Recording who has worked on replace the component in their entitlement. So that's a process that you need to understand who fundamentally changed it. I would agree that. Evidence that the component's performance in relation to the part it plays in the system has been considered as warranted. Yeah, as is warranted. Manufacturers must provide a component list, ironmongery on a door. So if anything breaks, a direct replacement can be used. It's almost O&M manual style, yeah, no problem. Removal of certain products, materials must be undertaken by people who are on an approved list. Wow, that's a good one. Certified by accreditation body, that's another good one, and should require advance notice to all certification holders with sign-off to ensure traceability. Yeah, so you've got to be accountable for your fundamental change within the building or the component within. Yeah, I'll agree all of that.
Is that it? Have we finished, Jess?
I think
Are
we
we
have.
done?
Is there any more, Jess? No, that's great.
No? Brilliant. Wow. Well, we went through that in some detail, didn't we? No,
Fantastic.
excellent, mate.
Fantastic,
Thank you, Andy,
wasn't it?
so much for that. You've helped a lot with that one. Believe me. Believe me. George, have you got any kind of anything you want to run through?
Yeah. I would just ask Howard, are you there?
Yeah, hi guys. Sorry about that.
No problem at all. So what do you do? I know Ventro.
So I'm the technical and compliance director for Ventro.
Brilliant. Okay. So this is the first sort of exposure, I guess, that you've had to what we've been doing.
Yes.
Okay. Rather than take up time now with everybody else, maybe we arrange a 10-minute one-to-one, and I can explain to you what we've been doing the last couple of days, because certainly in Ventro, I think you'd find it very useful.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm just looking at it. I was going to ask the same question as George, actually, getting that document, and then I'll have a look at it as well. But yeah, no, please, let's arrange a little catch up, and that'd be great.
Yeah. So what we're also doing, so this is just to finish off. What we're also doing, we're taking the all the guidance. So there are 12 guidance documents, Howard, that we've done. So we've just spent sort of an hour going through signage. So it just shows the quality of detail that we've got in there. And all of these documents have been put together by people that are subject matter experts in the particular field. So we were doing fire doors yesterday, and
literally hundreds on each document.
Yeah.
Literally hundreds
of people. So I think probably we've got the richest set of detailed information in the industry in these documents. But one of the challenges is that they are very detailed, and therefore it's difficult for people to consume, especially in our world where people want everything summarized on a single A4 page. So what we're actually doing in a managed way, we're going to be applying AI to rationalize some of these things, but within what we call guardrails. So what we don't want is for AI to be used and then it hallucinates and comes up with things that aren't right.
Or dilutes. It dilutes a lot.
Yes,
a lot,
exactly.
A lot.
So what we're doing is we're putting together people who are interested in that part of the process to take the guidance, and we're going to be turning it into an environment of tested information, but more summarized. And importantly, one of the key things is we're going to be tying things together. So, you know, for example, just in this conversation, we've been talking about the relationship between the signage and emergency lighting, which tends to be two separate packages.
Yeah.
And then you've also got the fire alarm system, for example. And so those three elements are often related in some way, but the fire alarm system is also probably connected to the AOV and the smoke detection system and the like. So one of the things that we're looking to do is to look across disciplines to come up with ways that these things can be glued together. And we're doing that under the BIM and asset management banner. And the intention here is that we're going to train agents, so AI agents, that can then be let loose on a data set to actually follow through things. So that's something that if you're interested in that, or if you've got people that are interested in that, I'm happy to make that you can become involved in that if you.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's something that we need as our company gets larger and larger and becomes more national and in fact more international. We've got to start doing a lot more of this. So absolutely, please.
Now you've been bought out, Howard, of course.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I know. Tell me about it.
Got some fundamental changes afoot.
Yes. Well, it's trying to amalgamate everybody. What's been so clear from doing all of these acquisitions is just how different everybody is and how interpretive it is. And that's what we're trying to do, is to standardize. And we talk about McDonald's and the standard